Welcome back to Elevation Perspective. My name is Mark, and today we are ranking the top 10 second basemen in Major League Baseball heading into 2025. Getting our list started now at number 10, I have Jonathan India, the newly acquired Kansas City Royal. In 2024, India hit 248 with 15 home runs, 13 stolen bases, and a 749 OPS. India has a very impressive offensive profile, does a lot of things well, especially controlling the strike zone. The big thing that jumps off the page at you is his walk percentage is 12.6% with a career OBP of 352. That gives him such a stable floor where I'm not sure if he's ever going to become that star player that people might have initially thought he was going to be when he was that first round pick way back when with the Reds, but he is such a stable floor that I feel like projecting forward is really easy for Jonathan India. India was, of course, traded over from the Reds to the Royals this offseason in exchange for Brady Singer. I think India's going to slide really well in that leadoff spot for the Royals, right in front of Bobby Witt Jr., Sal Perez, Vinny Pasquantino. Should score a lot of runs, get on base at a high clip, and really help out this Royals offense. India going from Great American Ballpark, one of the easiest places to hit, to Kauffman Stadium, one of the toughest places to hit, definitely could impact his numbers negatively, but I don't think it's going to bury him by any means. I think his home run numbers will just drop off a little bit. I can see 12 to 15 instead of like the high teens number. I see India hitting about 250 with 12 to 15 home runs, maybe 15 to 20 stolen bases. Really strong OBP, really solid player for the Royals at number 10. At number 9, I'm going with Bryce Terang of the Milwaukee Brewers. In 2024, Terang had his breakout year at age 24, hitting 254 with 7 home runs and 50 stolen bases. Terang is such a prototypical Milwaukee Brewer, in my opinion. This is a guy who puts the ball in play, runs well, plays really good defense, doesn't have great power per se, but just fits in with the Brewers' mold so well. I don't want to say Terang had his peak performance in 2024. I don't think that's fair to say for a player at his age 24 season, but he needs to make serious strides to take that next step offensively. Looking at Terang's profile now, he does things well. Like I said previously, he has a good XBA, puts the ball in play, hits line drives, good whiff and K percentage, good knowledge of the strike zone, but does not hit the ball hard at all, does not drive the baseball. My biggest concern here with the slap contact approach that Terang has is he only had a 316 on base percentage. He has to find more ways to get on base, maybe walk more, whatever it may be. But right now, a 316 on base percentage for a singles hitter does not play, and that correlates to his 665 OPS. Terang spent a lot of time last year hitting toward the bottom of the Brewers lineup, but if he's able to get that on base percentage up to about 330, 340, this is a guy who could set the table for those big boys in Jackson Chourio, William Contreras, Christian Yelich. You can put Terang at the top of the lineup instead of being a liability at the bottom. Overall, Terang had a really solid 2024 season, a phenomenal defender. He runs really well. Like I said, there are some things I want to see him improve on, but I can definitely see as he gets stronger, as he gets bigger, those home run numbers jump up. I don't see him ever being a big homer guy, but going from 7 to 10 to 15 could be really, really big for his career. So for Bryce Terang, I have him at number 9. I think he's a really solid player. At number 8, we're going with Nico Hoerner of the Chicago Cubs. Hoerner had a bit of a down year in 24, battling multiple injuries. He wound up hitting 273 with 7 home runs, 31 stolen bases, and a 708 OPS. While Hoerner's batting average did drop below 280 for the first time in 3 years, his XBA was still sitting at 280 in the 91st percentile, a phenomenal whiff and strikeout percentage in the 99th percentile. This is a player with great knowledge of the strike zone, great defensively, really good speed, a really solid all-around player in Nico Hoerner. Hoerner has been the subject of some trade rumors this offseason. While I do understand it in some regards for the Cubs, they have some young, promising players coming up in their farm system like Matt Shaw. I feel like Nico's a guy that still fits really well at second base. They shouldn't move on from him just yet. He locks down that middle of the infield with Dansby Swanson, 2 phenomenal defenders. It's a major strength for the Cubs, and they should not look to get rid of it. I think if Nico Hoerner is healthy in 2025, he bounces back to about a 285 batting average, 10 home runs, 40 stolen bases, and a solid enough 730-ish OPS. At number 7, I'm going with Andres Gimenez, the newly acquired Toronto Blue Jay. In 2024, Gimenez hit 252 with 9 home runs, 30 stolen bases, and a 638 OPS. Gimenez is one of the best defensive players in all of baseball, possibly the best defensive player in all of baseball, but he has to improve offensively to rise up on these rankings. You can see here on Baseball Savant, his batting run value is minus 15. His fielding run value is plus 14. That's such a jarring difference there to be a minus 15 hitter, but a plus 14 defender. We are also 2 years in a row now of Gimenez posting a below league average offensive season. OPS plus for league average is 100. In 23, he had a 96. In 24, he had an 82. Gimenez is also on a very expensive contract, paying him up to 2029. And now maybe that's not fair to mention while evaluating a player, but I think it does merit talking about his expectations. I think we're going to look at 2022 for Andres Gimenez as a big outlier where he hit 297 with an 837 OPS, but I think 23 might be more toward where he is. A 251 hitter, 15 home runs, 30 stolen bases, a 715 OPS with phenomenal defense. That'll certainly play, and it'll be a nice move for the Blue Jays if he can go back to that offensive profile. At number 6, I'm going with Luis Garcia Jr. of the Washington Nationals. Garcia saw a breakout 2024 campaign, hitting 282 with 18 home runs, 22 stolen bases, and a 762 OPS. I really enjoy watching Garcia Jr. play. I saw a lot of him last year playing against my New York Mets. A very solid line drive hitter, but hits the ball really hard. An XBA of 278, an X slug of 452, while maintaining a 16.3% K rate. Really impressive. I think Luis Garcia Jr. could be a building block for this Nationals team. Their rebuild is just about almost over. Now they're coming out the other side with a pretty solid team. This is a player who I think should be in a similar light of James Wood, Dylan Cruz. This is a guy just 24 years old that could be a franchise player for this Nationals team. There are a few things here in Luis Garcia's profile that I think he can improve on. If he does, he can become a true superstar player. For one, his walk percentage is very low at just 5.1%. His chase percentage is very high at 36%, and he severely struggles with left-handed pitchers. In 108 at-bats versus left-handed pitching, Garcia hit a respectable 259, but only one home run and a 641 OPS. For context, versus righties, Garcia hit 288 with 17 home runs and a 795 OPS. For Garcia to take that next step offensively, he has to improve on these splits, especially with the power numbers versus lefties, and the Nationals have to allow him to do that. He is still young enough where they should not make him a platoon player. They should see if he can work out of this and become a better offensive player versus left-handed pitching. At number 5, I am going with Marcus Semien of the Texas Rangers. Semien had a pretty rough 2024 year, hitting 237 with 23 home runs and a 699 OPS. My biggest concern here for Semien is at age 34, we are now seeing the start of his decline. You got to remember, this is a player now who's been an Iron Man for Major League Baseball. He has played so many games, so many innings on his legs, 159 plus games in 4 straight years. Now, you got to remember that a lot of players had down years on the Texas Rangers. A lot of people kind of chalked it up to a World Series hangover of sorts. Of course, these guys were playing all the way through the fall, almost into the winter. That is something you have to think about, and I don't want to write off Semien just yet. I have him at the number 5 spot after all, but I am very concerned that we're seeing the decline begin. While Semien's quality of contact definitely dropped off, still has a really nice knowledge of the strike zone, definitely works counts, still gets on base, a phenomenal fielder in the top 100th percentile in his range, still runs pretty well, which is definitely encouraging to see at 34 years old. I think Semien bounces back to a certain degree. I don't think he's going to bottom off here. Like I said, a bad year from Semien was 237 with 23 home runs, but I think his average has to get back up to like the 250-ish range. The power's fine at 23, but let's see a little bit more speed, a higher OPS, and a higher on-base percentage. At number 4, I'm going with Brandon Lowe of the Tampa Bay Rays. In 2024, Lowe hit 244 with 21 home runs and a 784 OPS. Lowe is a player I've always really liked. He hits the ball so hard. He's had a hard time staying on the field the last handful of years, dealing with different injuries, but I think if he can put a healthy year together, he's looking at 30-plus home runs with an 800 OPS. Lowe has had back-to-back years now of 21 home runs and an over 771 OPS, which is very solid production, especially from the second base position. Now, I think Lowe in a lot of other lists would be more toward the top, or maybe not even on this list at all. But for me, the big X factor here is Lowe is playing half his games at George Steinbrenner Field. That is the Yankees minor league ballpark, for people who don't know. Of course, the whole situation happened with the Trop. The Rays are playing half their games at the Yankees spring training facility, and it is the exact same dimensions as Yankee Stadium. So Lowe has the Yankee Stadium short porch for 81 home games this year. So I am taking a bit of a leap of faith here with Lowe, but like I said, it's a player I've liked for a very long time, getting a huge offensive upgrade to his ballpark. I feel the number 4 position is really solid for him. At number 3, I have Ozzie Albies of the Atlanta Braves. Albies had a very hard time staying on the field in 2024. He was limited to just 99 games, dealing with a broken wrist and a broken toe. He hit 251 with 10 home runs, 8 stolen bases, and a 707 OPS. I think we all know, though, that is not what a healthy Ozzie Albies is. Just 1 year prior in 2023, Albies hit 280 with 33 home runs, 13 stolen bases, and an 849 OPS. When he got back from his wrist injury toward the end of last year, he batted strictly from the right side. That was because batting lefty caused him pain in his wrist, but historically he's done very poorly as a left-handed batter. He's a much better right-handed hitter, so people have always wondered, like, why don't you just drop the left-handed side? Now, it's not that easy for a switch hitter to do, but it is something that a lot of the baseball community has wondered. There's been some traction there around the Braves organization, but I'm not sure if Albies is ready to drop hitting from the left-handed side. Albies is just 28 years old, still in his prime, hits in a very great lineup in Atlanta. I think he'll bounce back for sure. I see about a 270 batting average, 25 home runs, and 800 OPS, a really solid player in Ozzie Albies. At number 2, we are going with Jose Altuve of the Houston Astros. Altuve is really just an ageless wonder at this point. In 2024, he hit 295 with 20 home runs, 22 stolen bases, and a 789 OPS. Altuve is a guy that I feel like his savant page never looks pretty, but he just always overcomes and outperforms his expected numbers. The Astros have definitely taken a step back, especially offensively, losing the likes of Kyle Tucker and probably Alex Bregman as well. So this is probably one of the worst lineups Altuve has been in, dating back to when the Astros were truly in the gutters while they were rebuilding. But still, this will be a true test for Altuve to see if he still has the offensive numbers to put up with less protection in the lineup. But Altuve is a guy that I'm just not going to bet against. I'm going to keep betting on this player to perform until he decides to hang it up. In what will be Jose Altuve's age 35 season, I have him hitting about 290 with 20 home runs and stealing about 15 bases. And at number 1, I have Ketel Marte of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Ketel has always been a solid player, but he was otherworldly in 2024. Ketel hit 292 with 36 home runs, 7 stolen bases, and a 932 OPS. In 92 games before the All-Star break, Ketel Marte hit 292 with 19 home runs, earning him an All-Star appearance. In 44 games after the All-Star break, Ketel maintained that 290 batting average while hitting 17 home runs in those 44 games. A great season for Ketel, but a monster second half, and all the advanced numbers back it up. You can see here Ketel Marte's baseball savant page, a 294 xBA, a 538 xSlug, a 94 mile per hour average exit velocity, great barrel percentage, great hard hit percentage. The list goes on and on. Just a phenomenal offensive profile. Ketel is also putting up these numbers as a plus defensive player as well. I think the main key for Ketel Marte has always been his health. This is a guy who used to play the outfield for Arizona. He had a lot of hamstring problems, a lot of problems with his legs, but now he plays on just the dirt, plays second base, and has turned himself into a true superstar elite offensive talent. Now, I'm not sure if 17 home runs in that 44 post-All-Star game stretch is sustainable looking at 2025 for Ketel, but this is a guy who I expect at this point a 290 batting average, 30-plus home runs, a 900 OPS. I think he's really taking that next step into stardom, and Ketel Marte is my number 1 second baseman heading into 2025. And that is my list. Second base is a very interesting position. A lot of plus defensive players, not really big-time bats, but Ketel's an awesome talent. Some other big-time players as well in the group. Hopefully everyone enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching.